As you would have seen from the title and thumbnail, in this video I'm going to be reading 3 hyped books, and I wanted to divide them into categories based on where I've seen them the most, for example on BookTube or Instagram or TikTok. But for this video I decided to just start off with just super hyped books in general, like all over. Let's just talk about it. Actually, I haven't decided the order yet, so I'm just gonna let you know the 3 books that I'll be reading, and then I'll decide what book I want to start with in a next clip or something like that. So the first book that I'll be reading is Tao A for Aunties. I have seen this everywhere. Oh my gosh. This one, as well as Finlay Donovan is Killing It. This book kind of reminds me of that book because it's kind of like a comedic mystery, cozy mystery, something like that. So let me read you the synopsis. When Madeline Chan ends up accidentally killing her blind date, her meddlesome mother calls for her even more meddlesome aunties to help get rid of the body. Unfortunately, a dead body proves to be a lot more challenging to dispose of than one might anticipate, especially when it is inadvertently shipped in a cake cooler to the over-the-top billionaire wedding that Maddie, her ma, and her aunties are working at an island resort business. Don't leave your big day to chance, leave it to the chance. And nothing, not even an unsavory corpse, will get in the way of her auntie's perfect buttercream flowers. The blurb is actually what happens when you mix one accidental murder with 2,000 wedding guests and then toss in a possible curse on 3 generations of an immigrant Chinese-Indonesian family. You get 4 meddling Asian aunties coming to the rescue. It sounds so fun, so I'm very excited to read this and hopefully I'll enjoy it. I didn't hear so great things about the next book though. I can't remember what the title is. I just put it on the screen. We shall see whether I will pick up the next book once I finish this one. The next book is a super hyped start to the series, and it's actually The Poppy War. I'm so scared. You have no idea how scared I am. Okay, I haven't even read the trigger warnings for this yet, but everybody says to read the trigger warnings before you go into this. Wait, I'm just looking at RF Kwang's photo. Why is the photo so badly cropped? It's not centralized. I need to stick to the main point. Okay. Peasant, student, soldier, goddess. When war often Rin is the Keju, the empire-wide test to find the most talented youth to learn at the academies, she surprised everyone. Test officials, the guardians who wanted to marry her off and further their criminal enterprise, and even herself. But being a dark-skinned peasant girl from the south is not easy at Synagogue, the most elite military school in Nikan. Targeted by rival classmates for her color, poverty, and gender, Rin discovers that gods long thought dead are very much alive, and that she possesses a little unearthly power and aptitude for the nearly mythical art of shamanism that could be the weapon the empire desperately needs. While Nikara is at peace, its enemy and former occupiers, the Federation of Mugen, bides its time, and a third Poppy War is just a spark away. Rin's shamanic powers may be the only way to save her people, yet as she discovers more about the god that has chosen her, the vengeful phoenix, she fears that winning the war may cost her humanity, and it may already be too late. So this is quite a big book. Like, don't be deceived by this. It's actually 500 pages. I cannot understand the physics, the math, I don't know. And last but not least, I like the color scheme going on here. It's actually Notes on an Execution, and I have seen this everywhere. I have previously DNF'd this, and my reason for it was I wasn't sure whether I was not into this book or I wasn't into thrillers at that time. But I have since then seen everyone obsessing over this and how it's their favorite book, and I was like, okay, let's give this another chance. I have become intrigued again, and I have now become more of in the mood for a mystery. I don't think it's a thriller, so we shall see, and hopefully I enjoy it. So yeah, this is also kind of an intervention, because if you have seen my mid-year book freakout tag, you would have known that as of that video, I had only read 1 5-star. As of another recent video, a reading vlog, I found my second 5-star of 2022, but I need more. So this is my attempt at trying to find more by reading hyped books that hopefully deserve the hype, and then I will have new favorites. Yeah, that's the math. That was my introductory clip, and let's continue with the video. Hi! I have no idea what my last update was, but I have basically started reading Tao A for Aunties by Jessie Q Sutanto, and oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so funny. Oh my gosh, I love the dynamics of the 4 aunties. Basically, I was reading this mainly yesterday night and on my commute to and from my friend's house today, and I couldn't stop laughing. Oh my god, I was laughing at home, I was laughing on the commute. It's so funny. Oh my god. Okay, so I read to you the synopsis of this already, right? It's very much giving me Finlay Donovan is killing it vibes, but even better. I'm enjoying it so much more because I didn't know that the author, she kind of grew up in Singapore. Let me read her author's note. But her family, her grandparents came from China to Indonesia. When her grandparents had children, basically her parents brought them to Singapore to avoid the 90s riots. So she kind of considers all three countries her home. So yeah, I wasn't even expecting my country to appear in any part of this book. It appeared in the author's note basically, but because she wrote this book as a love letter to her family, we see the aunties talking in Indonesian and Mandarin and Singlish even. So she talks about it in her author's note, and I was just very pleasantly surprised. So some of the aunties in Dao A for Aunties speak the sort of broken English that my parents' generation does. Their grasp of the English language is not a reflection of their intelligence, but a reflection of the sacrifice that they have made for us. I see all the different English terms like wa, things like that, and it's so good to see in a book. Oh my gosh, and I'm so happy that this book is actually so hyped up because it's like a small part of me is thinking it's somewhat linked to Singapore, which is my country, and I'm just very very happy. Yeah, and the Asian community, they talk about their culture, like how they grow up. It just really reminds me of my own culture as well, and I love the dynamics of the different aunts. Their relationship with each other is kind of split into half. So the big aunt, she really loves the fourth aunt and she is at odds with the second aunt, and then the third aunt, which is the main character's mother, is at odds with the fourth aunt and things like that. So it's like sibling conflicts, and then there's also the love that they have for each other despite all of this, and how they're so ready to help out their daughter/niece. And it's so funny, especially when we reach the part where they were trying to hide the body and things like that. Oh my gosh, this is a library book and I again tagged it. I will remove it. I just wanted to mark the place that I wanted to talk about. Okay, this is gonna be spoilers from now on, so I'm just gonna put a spoiler warning. So they were trying to move the body, right? I'm just gonna read through this part where they were trying to move the body. You leave light on, Big Aunt says, walking through the back door into the garage. Yes, that body cannot be in the dark, Ma says. Big Aunt nods. Yes, good thinking. More superstitious bullshit, Fourth Aunt mutters. Just wait until you see what Maddie do to the body. She was very respectful, Ma says. And it's like, I'm loving it so much. Oh my gosh. And then things like how her second aunt randomly does Tai Chi movements to calm herself down when she's stressed. And it's like, the 一粒大西瓜切成一半. It's like literally that in English. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, this is like a super major spoiler, but it's like, I'm just gonna read you this line, okay? Big Aunt nods solemnly. I hear about this kind of internet scam before. It's called goldfish. Catfish, I say. No, I'm sure it's called goldfish because pretend got gold but actually just a fish. Like what? Oh my god, this is so funny. Oh my god, I love this book so much. I'm hoping that it's a 5-star. It very much feels like it, which I'm gonna be very happy for because essentially I started doing this video because I wanted to read more Goodreads. I'm actually at page 200 out of 295, around there. I'm very excited to finish this and let you know my rating. I also really enjoy the romance in this because I'm quite surprised because I normally don't enjoy... Is this a spoiler? I might put a spoiler warning. I normally don't enjoy second chance romance, but I'm enjoying this so much. They're so cute and I ship them so much, so I'm very excited. The first book of this video is already so good. Oh my god. Okay, so time is a little bit tight actually because this book and The Poppy War is due in 5 days and Poppy War is like 500 pages, so I'm trying to quickly finish this and things like that. So yeah, I'll keep you updated, and I just wanted to come on and let you know my thoughts so far, which are very positive, and I'm very happy to say I am scared for the sequel though because the rating is like 3.5-ish on Goodreads. Like, that's not a good thing. So yeah, we shall see. Hi, it's National Day today in Singapore. I actually had some time to talk to you after the few busy days that I've had, so I decided to finally come and update this. So I finally finished Dial A for Aunties. Actually, I think I finished it a couple of days after I filmed the update clip. I decided to give it 4.5 stars. Let me give you trigger warnings and my review for it. I also tried the dry shampoo that you saw just now, and I'm just smelling coconut now. Yeah, anyway, let me find my review. Trigger warnings for alcohol use, attempted sexual assault, car crash, divorce, drug use, kidnapping, murder, and racism. And oh my gosh, I think this is gonna be one of my favorites for this year because of how much fun I've had while reading it. I told you about how I could relate to the main character in terms of the Chinese community part and the aunties, right? That feeling has persisted throughout, so I'm really loving the dynamics of this family, the Chan family, yes. The romance, I could feel the tension as well, so I was shipping them so hard. I actually don't really know what to classify this as for the main genre. I saw the top shelf on Goodreads is that it's romance, but I don't know, like there needs to be a specific genre for books like this book, Dial A for Aunties and Finlay Donovan is killing it because they're just so good and ridiculous, and I just enjoy how ridiculous it is. This is even more ridiculous than Finlay Donovan is killing it, and I love it so much. It was so ridiculous. I was just like, oh my god, I'm just vibing here. I was wondering how things would play out with the dead body, and I found it a bit ridiculous. Okay, spoilers. There was one scene where the dead body ended up dressed up as a groomsman, and the other people just brought him up to the altar, and I was like, how do people not recognize a dead body? Is it because most people haven't seen it before, so they can't really register it? And I guess it also helps that the other groomsmen are kind of like drunk and high, so they kind of all look like very disheveled, I would assume. So I guess that's a possible explanation. But yeah, I was like, how are they gonna get away with this? And they did get away with it. I was just like, oh my god, this is ridiculous, but I can kind of see it happening, but ridiculous. And I love it so much. Oh my god. Okay, I'm very scared to read For Aunties and a Wedding, which is the sequel to Dial A for Aunties. It has currently a 3.53 rating on Goodreads, so I'm like very, very nervous. But I will be reading it for myself, and I hope it won't be too bad. But yeah, oh my gosh, so the first book of this video, Hyped Books, has done it for me. I enjoyed this hyped book, and I can clearly see why it is hype, and it deserves the hype. The audiobook for this is a must. Oh my gosh, this is one of the books where I felt like you can actually just listen to the audiobook, but the best reading experience would be you listen to the audiobook and you read the book at the same time. Very, very good. I really love it, especially because of the different aunties' voices. Like, oh my gosh, the accent, the way they pronounce the Indonesian words, the Singlish as well. So good. Yeah. As for the next book, I am currently reading The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This one is the 500-page novel, and look at how my progress is very slow. This, can you see this? This is 55 pages. I need to finish this because my loan is due. Today is 9 August, so it's due on 12 August. Please pray for me. I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but okay. I'm listening to the audiobook and reading along with the physical book as well. But I don't know. I'm still at page 55, so that's not a lot considering how... It's 110, right? It's 110. I guess I'm not really exactly seeing it yet, the hype and everything, but I assume it has a lot of space to grow anyway. I'm just at 110. It has 9-10 more to go. I'm quite scared because people have said that this book has broken them, or the rest of the books in the series, I guess. But right off the bat, for the first 55 pages, I'm enjoying the academic vibes from this because of how she was studying to get into, what's the place called again? Synegard, which is like the best academy, and now she's in the academy already, and they just started learning and stuff because they're all year ones already. There's like conflicts between people. They kind of don't like Rin because she is from the countryside, and this test was not exactly designed for people from the countryside to surpass, and she got the first out of everybody else in the exam in her province, I assume. They say that the test is for democracy, but it's actually not, so they're kind of looking down on her and they don't expect her to stay because people will leave. About 20% will leave at the end of the year or something like that, based on how they do across the school year. And also, if they don't have mentors that are willing to take them in as apprentices, they will also have to leave. I was kind of at that point at the moment. I read about this kind of graphic scene where there was a death of a child already, so it's like I can kind of see where things are going. So I'm scared, but I am also on a time limit. I will hopefully try to finish this before my library hold ends. If not, I will just return the book first and continue reading the ebook. So I'll continue updating you about this, and hopefully the second hyped book will be a good book for me as well. Yeah.
She tightened her grip and wrote her full name across the booklet's cover page. Feng Runing. She wasn't the only one who was nervous.
I'll just put the book cover here, and then I will let you know my rating and my review. Many trigger warnings for this one. Let me read it to you. Trigger warnings for abandonment, ableism, abuse, emotional and physical addiction, abuse, emotional and physical addiction, animal death, cruelty, assault, blood, bone, bullying, cannibalism, character death, decapitation, drugs, fat phobia, fire, genocide, gore, hostages, human experimentation, infertility, massacres, menstruation, misogyny, mutilation, murder including children, racism, rape, past recollected, self-harm, skeletons, torture, violence including against children, and war. I get why people say read the trigger warnings before you go into this book already based on that large list, but yeah, anyway. And I gave The Poppy War 3.25 stars. And don't hate me, this is an unpopular opinion. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to, given how hyped it is. Oh my god. When I was reading it, right, there were a few of my friends on Bookstagram, they were also reading it at the same time, and they were all raving about it, and they were like, 5 stars for every book in the series. And I was like, oh my god. Because I was reading The Poppy War, and then I was like, I kept getting the feeling that this book is not for me, because 1 is high fantasy, 2 is kind of historical fiction. It's strongly influenced by the Japanese invasion of China in the 1930s, and specifically the Nanjing Massacre. If you know that part of history, you know how terrible that time was, and a lot of it is reflected in The Poppy War. I am kind of a person that has drifted from historical fiction already, so during the book when they were introducing like all the different history of the world that they were in and everything, I was just like, I don't really want to be bothered with this history of this particular book, but like I know that it's an important piece that shed some light on the terrible things that happened in the past, so I get why it's important, I get why people appreciate it, but I don't think it's a book for me in general. Other than that, right, I didn't really vibe with any of the characters, and I think that's something that is really important for me if I were to enjoy a book, because I need to root for at least one of the characters in order for me to really enjoy a book. So out of all the characters, right, I think I probably only kind of liked Kitai and Jiang and Naja, but I don't know what happened to him. Oh my gosh. Like, one thing about this book, right, is that there are so many characters, then the author likes to make something happen to this particular character, and then we don't know what happens to him because the character is just gone for like this chunk of a book, and then suddenly the character will reappear, and then most of the characters are kind of morally grey. Oh my god, I'm doing such a bad job of explaining this. Okay, but I have to say, right, the first part of the book, when they were in the academy, they were learning in normal school setting how to fight, how to strategize, training to be soldiers. Basically, I really enjoyed that part, because if you know me, you know that I like books with academic settings, which I did a vlog on. You can go and check it out. When the book shifted into the war aspect, then I was like, not really my thing. Yeah. It's really graphic, which I kind of wanted to read about. Like, it didn't really deter me, rather that made me want to keep reading, because sometimes the book just dragged and I was bored and I was like, oh my god. So it really took like quite some time to read it, and it was painful because I was rushing on to the library return schedule. I think if I read it as an ebook or a physical book that I own, I would have taken my time with it, and maybe I might have enjoyed it more. But I was really tempted to DNF, which is quite sad, because I don't think I'll be continuing with this series. I don't really want to go back into this world anymore. Yeah, and if people have been rating the first book like 5 stars, that's the general consensus, and I've already rated it 3.25. I don't see how I will enjoy the rest of the books, and they are really big also. And it's quite sad because I clearly thought I was going to enjoy the Poppy War, and I was like, I'm gonna need the sequel and the last book on my hands so that I can jump straight into it. And then now I'm just like, no. Oh my god. I guess that means I can return this to the library sooner. Yeah. Oh, and also, okay, spoilers. Okay, so like there's all this part about the how they call onto the gods, and like the gods will appear within the person's body. I don't really get how that works, and I was like, do I even care anymore? I don't think I do. The Poppy War left off on a place where I thought I could stop at, in a sense, so I didn't see the need to continue. So the second book of this particular vlog was sadly not it for me. I guess 3.25 is not a bad rating, but it's just I don't really want to continue with the series already. I do see the merits of the series, I do see why people enjoy it. It's just a book that's not for me. To me, this book didn't live up to the hype. Maybe it was overhyped. That's why it contributed to my lower enjoyment as well, because it was like more of a disappointment. I guess that's it for this book. I'm going to move on to Notes on an Execution by Dania Kukafka, and hopefully the last book will live up to the hype, but I need to have the correct mindset, because I saw in a video by Gabby Reeds who was talking about this book, right? And she was saying how it gets mismarketed as like a thriller or a mystery, but it's actually more of like a literary fiction, which might be why that time I DNF'd the book thinking that it was a thriller, and I was like, why is nothing happening? But yeah, okay, let me read you the synopsis. Ansel Packer is scheduled to die in 12 hours. He knows what he's done and now awaits execution, the same chilling fate he forced on those girls years ago. Through a kaleidoscope of women, a mother, a sister, a homicide detective, we learn the story of Ansel's life. We meet his mother, Lavender, a 17-year-old girl pushed to desperation, Hazel, twin sister to Ansel's wife, forced to watch helplessly as her sister's relationship threatens to devour them all, and finally Safi, the homicide detective hot on his trail. As the clock ticks down, these 3 women sift through the choices that culminate in tragedy, exploring the rippling fissures that such destruction inevitably leaves in its wake. Blending breathtaking suspense with astonishing empathy, Notes on an Execution presents a chilling portrait of womanhood as it simultaneously unravels the familiar narrative of the American serial killer, asking readers to consider the false promise of looking for meaning in the psyches of violent men. We are currently on this imaginary leaderboard, hyped books. Deserve the hype, doesn't deserve the hype, 1-1. So I really hope that this video ends on a good note. So yeah, stay tuned. Hi, so it has been quite a while since my previous update, I think. I've started on Notes on Execution, and I really think that the first time I picked it up, I just wasn't in the mood for it. And now that I have reset my thinking into thinking that it's a literary fiction, it's not so much of a thriller, I'm enjoying this so much more, and I'm just so amazed. So I've actually tapped the library book again. I will remove the tabs once I'm done with it. I just wanted to keep track of the number of times where I was like, WTF, because this guy is messed up. It's so creepy, and the things that he do are just, oh my gosh, they are either like gory parts or animal abuse parts, that kind of thing. And I have now surpassed the point at which I have DNF'd the book. So as I was reading it, I thought I could recall certain aspects when I first read it, but just that now I'm paying more attention and I'm reading it physically and listening to the audiobook at the same time. I'm so much more immersed in the story. I am at page 158 out of 461, so about 35% around there. I think reading the back of the book, the synopsis, helped also, because when I first went into it, I went into it as when I read normal books, meaning that I just go into it blind. But this one, because I didn't really see what was the point in all the different perspectives that we were having, but reading the synopsis made me realize that, oh, they're actually connected. So for example, we had a chapter on Lavender, which was Ansel's mother. Then we also had a chapter on Hazel, which was Ansel's wife's twin sister, and we also have a perspective on Safi, who is the homicide detective on his trail. So actually reading these perspectives actually have a meaning now, because I can see the connection and how they all link together in the end. Much more positive reading experience this time round. Not sure how I'll rate it just yet, because we are still quite early on into the book, but yeah, I just wanted to come in and give you really quick thoughts, and I'll keep you updated. I am here to end the vlog. Okay, so I finished Notes on an Execution a few days ago. Let's talk about trigger warnings first. Trigger warnings for abusive relationship, alcoholism, animal abuse, animal death, blood cancer, child abuse, death of a parent or sibling, divorce, drugs, gore, misogyny, murder, parental abandonment, physical abuse, pregnancy, sexism, skeletons, stalking, and suicide. So a lot of trigger warnings for this one. And in the end, I gave it 3.5 stars. So slightly better than The Poppy War, but not to the extent of Dowry for Aunties. So how this book progresses, right, is that it kind of slowly reveals to you how things happened, how Ansel got caught in the first place, how everything links together. But after you find out everything, that's towards the end of how he's going to get the death penalty. After we found out everything, I started to feel a bit bored of the book, even though I do understand that there are very good discussions on whether or not the death penalty should even exist, whether these criminals deserve such a sentence and things like that. So it's a book that really makes you think about these kind of important issues, which I recognize that is important, but I did get a bit bored after we found out everything. I was more intrigued by the start and the middle this time round, where we started to find out how he did it, why he did it, reasons why those people were the ones, things like that. I can see why people hype this up, but for me, I guess the hype might have been a little too much, but the hype was what made me want to read it again in the first place. So I guess I can see why it's a hyped book. I can see why it deserves the hype, but it's just overall a book that wasn't really for me. Overall, it's 3.5 stars, which is not a bad rating. It's just not as high as the other books that I have rated. So I have one last thing to say about Notes on Execution. In the book, we see that before he got caught, right, he starts to become, this might be spoilers, I'm gonna put a spoiler warning. He starts to become a little bit more hopeful in the world, because he finally found his niece and their family, and interacting with them, he starts to become almost like a normal person, as if he didn't do all those things before. But because of the fact that the detective went to warn the family against him, they told him not to come back, and it kind of made him go over the edge and murder Jenny, which is his wife, if I remember correctly. So we start to see how he can be redeemed, but does it make up for the fact that he had already killed people for this after this happened? Although I feel bad for him, it doesn't excuse the fact that he went to murder somebody as a result of that. So it's really things like that that make you realize that people are human, but there are some lines that shouldn't be crossed, and even despite that, should they receive the penalty that they get in the criminal legal system. I'm not phrasing this very well, but it's just a book that made me think quite a while, despite finishing it a few days ago. Like, thinking about it now, I'm just thinking of all the things that surface, that come to mind. Yeah, really an introspective read. I have finished reading 3 hyped books for this video. With my ratings, you will know that the bottom is The Poppy War, followed by Notes on an Execution, and then the top is Dowry for Aunties. Kind of bummed that the first book was the most highly rated from me, but it's a good reading experience. Excited to read more hype books in the future. Let me know if that's something you want to see me do more of as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that you're having a great day and a great week. Remember to hydrate yourselves, drink some water, and I'll see you in my next video.